when they say that it's so coincidental that Buffy and I look a lot alike, because they all are versions of me. So I think that does probably come into play, and they videotape our mannerisms, and so it definitely, I mean, I hope I'm a little more original than that. Hopefully maybe with my voice that reminded you of it. But, you know, again, it's all where it comes from.
One last question for Sarah. I mean the R2, yes.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. I'm like, R2, that's not R2, that's actually me.
I know.
Oh my gosh, I was looking.
Oh, and I didn't see it. I couldn't see it on that side. That's actually me. I was so confused. I so could not see that. That's the greatest bow, by the way.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to support both.
Thank
here. So I've been a huge fan of yours for a long time. I've been following your career for years. Obviously, Star Wars attracts a huge fan base, fanboys, fangirls. There's a lot of them in this room. I'm wondering what, as Sarah Michelle Gellar, what do you fangirl about?
I'm in Star Wars. I mean, come on. I don't think, and I don't know if it necessarily hit me right away when I was like hitting everybody up for a role on it, but you know, for the rest of my life, like I am now part of this family. I'm part of the legend. I'm part of the lore. I'm part of the story. As Ashley has proved, like you never know where someone's gonna pop up, and that's, you know, and I'm also, like I said earlier, I'm looking for some street cred. I'm tired of it being Charlotte's daddy's a Jedi and Charlotte's mom drives carpool. So like, I'm also really hoping that I finally get some cred with the kindergarten crowd.
Thank you.
Everybody and everyone here, thank you for welcoming me so much. I mean, I feel like there could have been this sort of backlash of like, I'm taking away from Star Wars or being a part of it, and I've been so honored and so excited to be included by all of you, by all of the fans, by everyone, and it really is a dream come true to be a part of this, and hopefully next Halloween there'll be a costume.
Yes. Or sooner.
Or sooner. I mean, well, I have a week. I have a couple weeks still. Before, I just am looking for costumes. But I just really wanted to say thank you, and thank you for, like I said, for being so welcoming to all of you guys too.
Thank you. All the hair up.
I think you can expect a lot. I mean, to say it's a season of the ladies, I think it's just, I'm just trying to get to a point where that's just the way it is. It's equal. You know, it's, right now it's great, and a lot of times it's special. But the reason it's special is because it's so uncommon. And when you go down that thought process, you realize how sad that is. You know what I mean? And my wife is hugely educated and knowledgeable about, you know, female point of view, obviously. That I don't have those perspectives. So she's been tremendous about, you know, educating me over the years on what's important to her as a fan. And I've tried to apply that. All I can really do is create opportunities and bring some balance to the force here. And I think that you see the reaction from the crowd. I mean, the guys like Herica, she's an awesome pilot. You do these characters right, they are for everybody, but I think hopefully very empowering for young girls to look at Hera and Sabine and say, wow, they're awesome. You know, Sabine reminds me of Boba Fett, if you like. You know, so we just got to keep that ball rolling. I think that a lot of creative teams in the industry are going that way now, and I think it's a very good thing.
During that, I remember you guys played the smallest little, because he didn't come in to record with us. He's on Broadway right now working, and we heard a little clip of him in the booth, and it was the coolest thing ever, because you're like, oh, that's Darth Vader. So that was very cool. But how he's in it, I don't think I could talk about that.
Well, I think, you know, we're all Star Wars fans, so we're like everyone in this room. The fact that I get to share the screen, my voice gets to share the screen with James Earl Jones, I just can't even comprehend it, quite honestly. So it's amazing. I mean, and several other actors have returned from the films, and then also, you know, getting to work with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and so many just amazing people. It's surreal, you pinch yourself, and in terms of what Darth Vader does this season, I'll pass them.
Yeah, well, it was, you know, there's so many things in a day when you work on Star Wars that, I mean, I just show up, I get to start to talk about the Jedi and the Empire. I mean, whatever you want, right? Every day is pretty good, no matter how much work it is. And then some days you walk in and you just talk to Darth Vader. You know, and he's there, and we piped him in the Skywalker sound, and Matt Wood and I are sitting there recording him. and it's one of those rare times where you just kind of almost break your facade and you're like, this is so cool. You know, because Matt and I are like, that's Darth Vader. He's like,
David, is there a way you'd like me to read this line?
I'm like, just like that. Exactly like you said. And he, you know, the first thing he said, you don't think about it, but when he went to record for us, he goes, I haven't done this in 10 years. Could you, you know, help walk me through it? How you'd like it to be read? And I was like, you don't need walk through it all. Like everything he does. The big difference I've seen is like there are people that can imitate Darth Vader, right? You can find people do a pretty good job. But James brings a performance level to it that I always find goes beyond just the idea that he's this evil villain menace and really captures more humanity as a person. And you hear it, and it's so different. When it comes on in the trailer, it just, you know, it's so amazing. And it's undeniable truth of who Darth Vader is, and that's what I like, and I'm very grateful that he takes the time, you know, to do our show, because it's just fantastic.
I feel like you've had your hand up the whole time. You, yeah. Yes, you.
Oh, sorry. Well, in the last episode in the last season, when Ahsoka kind of sensed Darth Vader and Darth Vader seeing kind of sense her, will there be some kind of confrontation or some kind of, you know, a la Return of the Jedi, where they're kind of feeling each other out? And will there be some kind of reckoning between the two of them, the ex-master and apprentice?
That would be cool.
You can use that.
That would be really neat. I mean, that would be something I've thought about for a long time. I'll say this about it. I mean, it's the character opportunity to have Ahsoka in the show and to have Darth Vader in the show. It demands addressing all the questions you're asking. There's never really been a Jedi quite like Ahsoka before. Someone that electively walks away from everything before it all falls apart. That earned her a certain position apart from their way of thinking about the Force. That doesn't mean that Vader would have sympathy for her whatsoever. There's a lot of, I think, in people's minds, unfinished business between the two, things left unsaid. So I find all that very interesting as a director and a storyteller. It's kind of dangerous storytelling, obviously, because they have very, great skills and sharp lightsabers. So that's a dangerous part of the story, but it is something that I, of course, talked with George about before George was done. You know, over the years when we worked on Ahsoka, that idea would come up. What would happen to Ahsoka if she ever met Vader? Everything like that. I always made sure to cover those questions because, you know, I will always respect that he's the creator of Star Wars. I always respect that he, you know, took the time to teach me and gave me this job. And I always want to think that if he sees these episodes, it's something that he would like. You know, it's important to me as this whole thing moves forward. So I base a lot of the storytelling on discussions that he and I have had. And, you know, some things I've done my own thing now and changed things, which is it's just the evolutionary creative process. But it's been thought about for a long time. He has an impact on season 2. You know, learning about his character helps you understand the Inquisitors a little more. You know, like what does any evil character want then, right? Like what does Palpatine want? He wants order. He wants to be in charge. He wants power. He wants immortality. You know, he I guess he thinks his way is best. I think the Inquisitors, you have to ask, well, why do they want to be an Inquisitor if not to seize power and control? And when you're doing that for yourself, right, that is not a good thing. You have to be selfless with that power like the Jedi are. But even they, in the end, are corrupt on some level by fighting that big war. Call it a day. I think they don't call it a day until, you know, they go down that path of wanting more power and destroying more people and then try to destroy Vader, right? And they want to sit at the top of the food chain. They might start out by thinking, I just want more power than that person. But it becomes an obsessive thing. The next thing you know, you're controlling everybody and everything, and they want to get rid of you. So it's a killer be killed philosophy with those guys. Right now, they're survivors.
No redemption at all.
You know, the redemption part is really tough. You know, look what Anakin has to go through. A complete selfless act to, you know, destroy the emperor, and then he doesn't, you know, get to survive that, certainly, because he's still committed terrible crimes. He's still done horrible things, you know, so there is some type of, you know, consequences for their actions. Redemption, I don't know. I mean, I think you always have to say that it's possible, but I think it's difficult. You know, it's a difficult thing for people to believe. Would you believe Palpatine if he said he's a good guy suddenly? I mean, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one to sell. But like you say, like what you're talking about becomes an interesting story. You know, it's like Ventress. Can Ventress be redeemed? Is Ventress a fully fledged villain? She seems to get in big conflict with that. And that's what George and I were really interested in when we worked on that character. You know, Ahsoka, yeah, you can question on some level Ahsoka because she walked away from the Jedi. But as I pointed out today at the panel, she might be more right than most of the Jedi. Because she walked away from something saying, hey, this is kind of corrupt. You guys didn't treat me fair. You thought I was guilty. Why didn't you believe in me? I did everything you taught me, and then you turned it against me. What's that about? She asked some important questions. So in the end, you know, young people ask questions. And sometimes, you know, they're right. The system's messed up.
Day. So it's a long day. It's 3 to 5 hours and hundreds of lines. But I have to say, I actually had a chance to speak with, his name was, I think, Daniel Cabrera, one of the creators of Disney Infinity the other day, and got to hear a little bit more about the game and how they made it. And he said, actually, that he's finding that a lot of kids and a lot of boys are playing Ahsoka and they're so proud of it because they actually designed her where she is one of the best characters. Like her I guess her fighting skills and everything. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with the game, but she is one of the better fighters in the game. And at D23 actually, they had the game set up, and I walked up and there was a little boy playing Ahsoka, and there was 30 characters he could have picked, and he chose Ahsoka out of all of them, and I stood behind him for like 5 minutes. I think his mom thought I was super creepy watching him play this game, but I was so fascinated. I thought it was really cool that a little boy picked it, but I think it also goes back to what Dave and his crew and the amazing writers on the show have done with all the female characters, and he brought it up on the panel. They don't point out that these are girls. They're just really cool characters, and so when you write it correctly, in my opinion, I know you brought it up, you look past the gender, and that's how it should be. And I think it's a true testament to how they've created these characters that you and your son love playing Ahsoka.
Where do you see Ezra's progression in Jedi wise?
They dim the lights. You have that room. I'm one of those people that has to use my entire body when I do stuff, and so I wield my imaginary lightsaber when I'm in there. It's so weird they don't bring those to recording sessions, just because I have to get into the physicality of it. But it's really freeing because you're just not as self-conscious, because you know that they're not seeing you look like an idiot wielding an imaginary lightsaber. Although I'm sure Dave probably videotaped it many times on his iPhone, and I'm sure I'll be getting videos. But
That will plug right in.
just because you're in a recording booth, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be fully in character. It's just you don't have to sit through the hair and makeup. And so when I was finding her and finding things like the hands and whatever those things are that help you get into character, and then you would start seeing them in the drawings, and it's a really great reciprocal process and creative.
Brian?
Freddie talks about like how they almost had to